Let's now get back to the core of our show today, and that is impact investing. In the studio with me in Cape Town is Ime Essien-Laurie, who's the Acting Managing Director of the Rockefeller Foundation, and also Wiebe Boer, who's the CEO of the Tony Elumelu Foundation. Wiebe, Ime, thank you very much for joining us today. Impact investing, first of all, Ime, what is it?
Impact investing are investments that are intended to create a positive social and environmental return beyond just a financial return. And it's now a global phenomenon. We have investors who are lining up their desire to make investments with their missions.
How important is that these days? Because I hear so much more about socially responsible investing, and there's even indices of companies that are socially responsible in the way they go about their business, Wiebe. So obviously a momentum that is not going to stop.
Yes, well, in fact, impact investing actually goes beyond socially responsible business operations. And it's basically saying in the course of your business, you're actually creating positive social impact rather than sort of just avoiding not creating a negative social impact. So it is definitely a global movement. But what we find here in Africa is that there's room for significant growth in impact investing. And we as a foundation actually are working towards getting the concepts of impact investing actually included in the broader business environment, because our belief is that to really truly transform Africa's economic and social development, you actually need to consider whatever investment you're making, you have to consider the social environmental impacts, and you have to think about how you can contribute to economic development through the business that you do, not just after you make the money, but actually while you're making the money.
So this is a classic sort of stereotypical case, Emmys. A company from overseas comes in and says, I like the fact that you've got some resources here in Africa. We're going to dig them out the ground. We're going to give a few Africans some jobs. We're going to take the stuff back, and we're going to make the majority of the money out of this particular operation. Today, it's completely different. That might have been the case 30, 40, 50 years ago. Today, give us an example of what you might do, what you might recommend to a company who seeks to, do some business on this continent.
So, first of all, the reason why we're focusing on impact investing is because we realize that there are a myriad of social problems across the world, and in Africa we see them very, very strongly. And what we think is that government finance and philanthropic money is not going to be sufficient to address these problems. So we have to look for the global capital markets to actually try and address these problems. What we're seeing is investors who have a real interest in job creation, in ensuring that their operations are sustainable and contributing to the communities that they're operating in. And so what they want to do is find ways to sustainably invest. And there are communities of investors who are doing this. There's a global impact investing network that actually is a community of investors who have this mindset. And so the key thing for them will be to identify those opportunities and also measure them. Because if you don't measure them, it's hard to figure out exactly what you're doing. So you want to be able to measure job creation. You want to be able to measure the type of impact that you're having on the communities where you're working. And this phenomenon is happening across Africa. The phenomenon of companies coming to extract resources from Africa, that is still happening to some degree, but you're right. There are more companies who see an opportunity to actually make money and do good at the same time. And that is, the pressure points there for companies are also increasing. And so you have community groups and civic organizations who are saying, look, if you want to invest in our countries, in our communities, tell us what you're going to do for us, and we will collectively make this a successful investment.
So it's not just you, sorry to interrupt, we maybe bring you in here. It's also you have to work with local authorities, with governments, with financiers, etc. It's a sort of collective process, isn't it?
Yes, it's definitely a collective process. As a foundation, in our efforts to create a better enabling environment for entrepreneurs broadly, but also specifically for social entrepreneurs and impact investors, we also have to work very closely with the government, because without them, a lot of the incentives can't be put in place that need to be put in place. But I think going on to the earlier question you asked about the changing nature of extracting Africa's wealth. One of the things, we don't have a specific sector focus for the entrepreneurs we work with. What our focus is on entrepreneurs who are creating value in Africa. There's a significant excitement around Africa's growth story right now, but the records show that while the economy is growing fast, it's not creating jobs. And that's because not enough value is being added in Africa, and there's too much of the resources are still being taken out. So for example, along with the foundation, there's a commercial side also founded by Tony Alumulu. And on the commercial side, there's also this focus on only investing in things that create value in Africa. And so he has invested in some oil wells, and they will produce a significant amount of natural gas. And instead of just exporting it, as has been the tradition, he will actually use that to create a fertilizer in Nigeria for the Nigerian market, also to generate power to fulfill the desperate need Nigeria has to solve the energy crisis. So it's a completely different mindset shift that all investors, whether African or non-African investors in Africa, have to look at.
Well, this is sorry to interrupt. It's a classic case. We've only got a minute left, but I mean, with so much optimism surrounding Africa and its economic potential, this is a classic case of where impact investing can be put to the test and really develop the whole continent.
That's exactly why we're excited about this. We are having a conference in Cape Town, co-sponsored by the Luminu Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation, and the Bertha School of Social Innovation and Entrepreneurship to talk about this topic and to really place impact investing at the center of the conversation around development in Africa. There are so many stakeholders who are really interested in this space, and we see the potential as really being phenomenal. We expect to have a lot more impact investors interested in Africa, really engaging with enterprises here who are looking for capital, who are also looking to make an impact. And in 10 years or so, we're going to see a phenomenal change on the landscape of investment here in the continent.